It's really good to be here today, to be used by God to share His health message.
Amen.
And I feel honored to do this, and I am grateful to be here. So what I have for you is a video before I start my presentation that really stood out to me as to the issues of sugar that we have going on in the U.S. today. So as I play this video, just please pay attention. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask, even during the presentation, because we want to make sure we address the questions.
40 grams of sugar.
Oh, make sure we heard that.
You'll find about 40 grams of sugar in a 12-ounce soda. That's 10 teaspoons. And it adds up from a dozen grams or more in a serving of sweetened cereal to 28 grams in some juice drinks. Adrian McCarge was eating a typical diet. But after getting a warning that he was already borderline for type 2 diabetes, he enrolled in an ambitious 3-month program at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta.
When you're working out on the bicycle.
The kids are dealing with grown-up problems. Physicians who are used to treating kids are now having to deal with grown-up problems. It never came up to think about, okay, we have a 7-year-old, she has diabetes, what do you do? Well, gosh, I didn't learn that in medical school on how to address that kind of issue. This is my goal sheet.
Adrian got weekly visits with a nutritionist
15. Now, overhead press.
and a personal trainer who called for more physical activity. In fact, all kinds of activity. And big changes in eating habits.
It has 8 grams of sugar per tablespoon.
He understands why I'm not buying any more junk food. I make an effort also to cook another home-cooked meals.
He's taken off almost 15 pounds. And to his mother's delight, he's no longer in the risk category for diabetes.
And you hear all these horror stories too of people who are diabetic, who've had wounds that didn't heal and had to get a leg or, hand amputated. I don't want that for him. If he eventually becomes a diabetic, I think it would just cut off so much of his childhood. That's it.
Some people, like Adrian's mother, say kids are fighting an uphill battle. She says it simply shouldn't be so hard. That the companies who make that delicious food should do more to make it healthier.
It seems the ultimate goal to me, and it's maybe very controversial, it's just about making money and not necessarily providing healthy food for a healthy society.
Now, I knew you wouldn't be able to see this little criminal eat on television, so I brought another one along. There. Isn't that a beauty?
Now, companies have been selling healthy food and advertising it for a long time.
Sister champions. Got plenty for more money?
Today, it's a bigger business than ever. The Institute of Food Technologists drew more than 25,000 people to its annual meeting in Chicago. IFT spokesman Roger Clemens points out While the public is demanding healthier products, it doesn't always buy them.
Food companies want to provide those foods that are lower in saturated fat, lower in cholesterol, lower in sodium, all these attributes that we've come to accept by the various scientific bodies. At the same time, the behaviors of our public has not changed.
You want to have nutritional foods, you want to have choice for consumers, but you have to have great taste.
David McKay is president and CEO of Kellogg's. The company got its start more than 100 years ago as a health food business. But today, Kellogg's also makes plenty of sugared cereals like this. And it's come under fire from health advocates like the Center for Science and the Public Interest and its founder, Michael Jacobson. He's the guy who invented the term junk food.
We should get rid of junk food advertising aimed at children. Get rid of that influence.
CSPI threatened to sue the Kellogg Company for unfair marketing, sort of like the lawsuits against big tobacco, until they struck a deal. Kellogg's announced it would reformulate products to make them healthier, and only advertise healthy products to children younger than 12.
We believe that we're a very responsible marketer to kids, and we wanted to continue to enhance and develop that.
To qualify as healthy under Kellogg's plan, a food needs to have less than 200 calories, limited salt and fat, and no more than 12 grams of sugar per serving. Frosted Flakes, by the way, has 11 grams of sugar.
It sneaks in right under that line. And I don't think it's any coincidence that that's as far as Kellogg was willing to go.
You have to remember, this is a major undertaking. The company's making roughly 50% of our products marketed to kids today will either need to be reformulated or will have to change the media mix. It's a very big undertaking for Kellogg as a company, but we absolutely believe it's the right thing for us to do.
At a Federal Trade Commission meeting this summer, 11 more big companies, including McDonald's, PepsiCo, and General Mills, lined up with similar promises.
We'll be giving nutrients of interest.
McKay says the threatened lawsuit had nothing to do with Kellogg's move, but there is public pressure. In an exclusive CNN and Opinion Research Corporation poll, nearly half the people said they would support government restrictions on junk food ads aimed at kids.
Interesting, huh? You know, it's sad that it's aimed at our children, because it really, in the long run, aims at them when they become adults. I remember reading an article about when all of these big companies came together to try to come up with a solution. Unfortunately, General Mills is not willing to settle for it, and they really are for their money and what they could get. It's an irony that Kellogg, had come to this point where it's used so much sugar in its products. We know the origins of Kellogg, being Adventist, but hopefully they do turn it around and change their ways, because sugar can be a poison.
Amen.
I'm going to be going a little bit over how it can be a poison for our bodies. So, here we go. Ready? If you have any questions, just raise your hand. So, the title of my presentation today is called Sweet Revenge. Sweet Revenge because it's sweet and it is revengeful. It can come right back at you. In my own personal experience with sugar, I can tell the difference in my health when I don't have sugar and when I have it. And so I want you to be a little bit more aware of your own health. As you leave here today, think about how it affects you. Try to see how your body does without it. And then when you introduce it back in your bodies, see how you're feeling. Because it's really important to notice these things with our bodies. Thank you. the typical American diet, unfortunately, is loaded with sugars. We see it in our cereals, we see it in our pizza, burgers, drinks, hot dogs, whatever it is, fast foods, everything is loaded with sugar. And it has become something of a norm in our diets. I'm going to go a little bit over glycemic load and glycemic index because that's really important when we consider the foods that we eat. Glycemic index measures how quickly sugar enters our bloodstream. This is important because I'm going to be going over high fructose corn syrup and how it has a high glycemic index. Glycemic load measures how much that sugar will raise blood sugar levels. So it's a combination of things, but it's important, especially if you're on the edge of being a diabetic, how much of a difference this can make for you. There are ranges for it, but we don't really have to go over that. So my question is to you guys. What are some of the major sources of added sugars in the American diet? Does anyone know?
Is it fructose?
Candy,
Yeah.
fructose, sucrose. That's table sugar. Dextrose, that's glucose. Yeah. Anybody else?
It's in some medicines as well.
It's in some medicines. Aspartame. Yeah. That's an artificial sweetener, and we'll be going over that. All right. So in the past, experts have focused on obesity and cavities as the main forms of diseases caused by sugar in the diet. But a lot of research has found that sugar has been linked to a lot of diseases, in particularly blood pressure problems, cholesterol, cardiovascular disease, liver, and as well as brain function. And I'll be going a little bit over that. According to studies, people who consume more added sugar also had more fat and cholesterol in their diets. They ate less protein, vegetables, and grains. So because you're loading on something that is giving you the calories that your body's asking for, your body doesn't really want the good things. You get what I mean?
Is that true for skinnier people too? Because we think we can eat anything and everything.
That is, in particularly thin people, because they cannot, based on the fact that they're thin, they think they're healthy. And the problem is they cannot tell how their body's being influenced externally by the sugar.
Okay.
But there's stuff going on internally. So it's important for us to go to our doctors yearly, get our checkups, get your blood work done, check your cholesterol levels, check your blood count. Everything is going to tell you whether or not you're sensitive to sugars or other conditions that you might have an underlying cause. So different kind of sugars that I'm going to be talking about. Monosaccharides, that means it's just one single molecule of a sugar. That's glucose, mentioned earlier, dextrose. That's the sugar that we measure when we take blood tests. They check for your glucose levels. Fructose is found in our fruits as fruit sugar. Galactose is formed mainly from lactose, which comes from milk. And sucrose, which is a disaccharide, meaning two sugar molecules bonded together, right? So sucrose is our table sugar. This consists of glucose and fructose. So the fructose that is in fruit and the glucose that's in your blood, sucrose has those both. Lactose has glucose and galactose. Maltose, which is malt sugar, has two glucose. With modifications of sugars like artificial sweeteners, they will actually bind molecules of sugars together using abnormal bonds to keep them together. Wow. This is something important because your body doesn't recognize these substances and thinks that it must be a poison. Let's get rid of it. So I'll go into that in a little bit. So natural versus artificial sugars versus sugar alcohols. So some of the natural sweeteners we have are agave, date sugar, fruit, juice, concentrate, honey, which I heard a lot about today, maple syrup, and molasses. Some of our alcohols, I'm not going to give you all the list, but the main ones that I think you've heard of are sorbitol, mannitol, and xylitol, right? Artificial sweeteners, which you know, aspartame, found in Equal and NutraSweet. You have neotame, saccharin, which is found in Sweet and Low. You have sucralose in Splenda, advantame, and asulfame potassium, which is found in Sunit and Sweet One. I don't really know those products. Does anyone? So artificial sweeteners are synthetic sugar substitutes. They're derived from naturally occurring substances, including herbs and other sugars. They're known as intense sweeteners. Why? Because they are many times sweeter than the average sugar. The FDA states that artificial sweeteners are attractive alternatives to sugar because they claim that because they add no calories to the diet and they require a small amount of consumption to be just as sweet as the regular sugar, and your body will just get rid of it, so it shouldn't be a problem. But there are problems with artificial sweeteners. Let's go, it cut off my aspartame, but let's go over aspartame. It's the ingredient found in Equal and other sweeteners. It's in many popular diet drinks and foods. Aspartame is a bigger threat than high fructose corn syrup. Why? Because it has been linked to birth defects, it has been linked to brain tumors, cancers, weight gain, many things they found in animal studies that they have not revealed to the public on what is done. You know, the FDA will say, oh, we found no real associations with these things, and especially neurological problems, but it has been found in animal studies. An ingredient found in wood alcohol is what aspartame is, which is a poison, and formaldehyde, what you use to embalm dead bodies. You don't even eliminate it from the body. The amino acids literally attack the body's cells. This is important. It can cross the blood-brain barrier. There's a barrier in your spinal cord that prevents things from getting into your brain from your bloodstream. And when it can cross that, it can actually go into your brain and attack those brain cells and lead to toxicity, overstimulation. Sometimes you'll see kids getting overexcited, or they can't function. MSG, I won't talk about that today, but that will be my next lesson. Well, if you'd like me to come back, I'll be talking about salts. But MSG is also an excitotoxin, meaning it causes a lot of excitatory response in the brain, meaning all the neurons are going haywire, and you can't calm your brain, you can't calm your mind. Sucralose is a synthetic chemical found, created in the lab. The body has no enzymes to break it down. Why? Because it's artificially made. The body doesn't recognize it. Drug companies claim it's non-caloric, essentially because it is expected to pass right through the body. You urinate it out, or you release it through your bowels. Research done on animals indicates that about 15% of sucralose is absorbed into the digestive system, meaning it does get absorbed in the body. The FDA claims it has been safe due to reviewing research data, but there are many problems that came up with animal studies. If you ever have someone you know who has anemia and they don't know why, this could be a reason. It increases infertility in men. The sperm are not productive to do their job. You can have brain lesions, you can have kidney problems, kidney failure, and spontaneous abortions. Don't we see, like in our world today, there's a lot of abortions spontaneously happening, there's a lot of infertility issues. These can be contributing factors to these things happening. So it can also lead to death randomly. They found that 23% of rabbits that were given Splenda actually died. So the only human trials they did were for 4 days duration. Is that long enough to tell you if that's going to affect humans? No. You know, the main reason they did this was to tell how dental health was for humans. They didn't really look at our tolerance of these things. The next worst form of sugar is fructose. Now, there's nothing wrong with fructose in fruit, right? Because it's in its natural form, it's not as condensed. This is another health-harming sweetener that is deceptively claimed as a healthy sugar alternative. Fructose is toxic in large doses and consistently when it's taken for long periods of time. Small doses are not an issue, which I told you. It can become more toxic than even artificial sweeteners. This pay attention to, because even if you're not taking artificial sweeteners, if you're taking a lot of fructose, such as high fructose corn syrup or fructose corn syrup, you could still be affected by this more than artificial sweeteners could do. Another thing that people eat is agave. Who likes agave? Agave? Got 3 people? Well, unfortunately, agave has a lot of fructose. Most agave is actually worse than high fructose corn syrup because they are processed, first of all. Anything processed is not good. And they have a higher amount of fructose, 70 to 97% fructose, compared to 55% that you find in high fructose corn syrup. So just note this. It's better not to do the agave. Why is fructose so bad? So when ingested, fructose is metabolized straight away as fat. What happens is it enters the bloodstream right away, right? Goes straight to the liver, and the liver's like, what is all of this? What am I gonna do? Okay, you go there, you go there, you go there, you go there. Okay, you go to the you go there, you go in the belly, you go in the butt. And people have a lot of adipose fat in certain places of their bodies because of this, especially the abdomen. This is a dangerous place to have fat. Let me tell you, if you know someone who has a bare belly, please tell them to work on their health. The reason is because when you have a lot of adipose tissue on your abdomen, you're actually showing a sign of not metabolizing your food correctly. This is a danger that your body is telling you. Fructose can do this.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
With the belly being so true, you can also, that also leads to diabetes, doesn't it?
Yep. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about that right now. But good. Okay, let me see if I can answer this, and if not, please raise your hand again. So fructose tricks the body into gaining weight by fooling how we metabolize or break down the food. So, like I told you, the liver sees all this stuff and it doesn't know what to do with it. It just says, go and store it. Let's not even work to metabolize it. let me not work on it because I can't, it's too much.
Wow.
So it will store it in the body. This turns off the body's ability to control appetite as well. So that means you have a large appetite, you just keep eating, your blood sugars can go up and down, and you don't know what's going on. You might feel tense, a little cranky. Your body is not controlling its appetite. Fructose does not effectively stimulate insulin release, which is dangerous. We need that insulin from our pancreas to help get that glucose into our cells so the cells can do their function. What does sugar do? It gives you energy, right?
Yes.
So the sugar is meant for your cells to do their jobs. But when you're taking fructose, the body cannot even use that to do its job. It will turn off your hunger suppression, ghrelin hormone. It will turn off your leptin, which tells you you're satisfied with food. So when you're eating, you're just constantly eating the food and you have no way of stopping. You just keep going and you're like, why did I overeat? Even when you were eating slow. So just be aware that with fructose, your body can be completely tricked of these things. And you'd be wondering, what did I do? What did I do wrong? It's not you. It's that the fructose is causing this response. You don't feel you don't feel full, so you keep eating, and you don't feel like you're ever not hungry. So together, this results in eating more and overproducing insulin. So let's talk a little bit about that. Diabetes. When you have diabetes occurring in the body, what initially happens is you're releasing so much insulin from your pancreas to help decrease the glucose in your blood, right? Remember, when you eat something and then there's a lot of glucose in your blood, your pancreas is going to release insulin to get that glucose out of your blood, to get it in your cells. But if your body is producing a lot of insulin constantly, and your body is not recognizing that insulin to use it to take the glucose into your cells, then you have a form of diabetes coming. This is dangerous because you're having high insulin initially, which is not good for you. That means you could eat a ton of food and not be satisfied, because insulin causes you to have a satisfaction. So when we see people who are morbidly obese, who are eating, right? Sometimes it's not people's fault. And I've learned this in school. You know, you're like, why are they eating that? And like, how come they're so big? Like, how come they're not losing anything? They don't eat much. Why? Because the body is not utilizing that glucose.
So they're not burning their food,
They're not. They've come into a syndrome of just keeping it and storing it in their fat cells. And the body has put up so much insulin that they need more and more food to get a response, because the insulin threshold, you need it to get higher and higher in order for your body to say, oh, okay, there's insulin here. So it's really a dangerous thing. So the results of fructose are weight gain, obesity, low HDLs, which are good cholesterol, and high LDLs, which are the bad cholesterol, high triglycerides, high blood sugar, high blood pressure, risk of diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. High fructose corn syrup may have the same amount of fructose as cane sugar, but because the fructose in high fructose corn syrup is free, meaning it's just single fructose molecules, it can become an overburden to the body, and that's why it can become toxic. Any questions?
I got a question about low blood sugar, because I hear somebody say having low blood sugar isn't good too. So what is it that can cause you to have low blood sugar?
That's a good question. So, if you think about it, when you're eating fructose, for instance, your blood sugar levels go way up right away. So your body dumps a lot of insulin into the bloodstream just to lower it. But the response to lower it takes time. So your body has released so much insulin, so much more than you needed, that your blood sugar, instead of just going normal, it starts to go down because there's too much insulin now. And so people have this effect of when they're eating something that's high in sugar, and then they start getting woozy because the blood sugar just dropped. It dropped because there was too much insulin to release to take care of that high sugar that you just ate. So that can be the same effect with people having low blood sugar, because your body does need sugar for your cells to function, but at a controlled amount of sugar. When your body can't even control the sugars, now we're looking at pre-diabetes, diabetes, because that's where it gets to that point where the insulin is so off. And that's why they try to regulate you with taking your insulin with your meals, because that's better than your body trying to do it, and it's not.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What happens if a person is in a room with not a lot of ventilation, and they have that condition also of low blood pressure or high blood pressure? What does the oxygen do to it? Lack of oxygen. Like some rooms you sit in at this time of day, people tend to turn their heat up because of cold, and they have too much heat. But the heat also has an effect. I'm trying to see how that poor ventilation in a room. Poor ventilation for a person that has a health condition.
So you're asking what happens when there's low oxygen in the room, and how does that affect your glucose or just your overall health? Well, your blood needs oxygen, right? And it needs that oxygen to carry to the body to do its functions. If there's not enough oxygen, then it's like you're being a poison as well. You have too much carbon dioxide in your body, which can become acidic and lead to other problems. So the same kind of, you could say the same kind of thing with oxygen is you need to have enough oxygen in your body to help your blood function, to do its job, to deliver that oxygen, to get rid of the carbon dioxide. I won't get into the whole physiology of it, but the amount of carbon dioxide in your body depends on the amount of oxygen coming in your body. Yes, it's a balance. Did I answer that? Are you okay?
Yeah, I know that people have a tendency to link diabetes with lack of energy.
Okay.
And lack of, they fall asleep, and then they don't bring in the factor of the heat or lack of ventilation in a place. So they either gonna say the person diabetic, that's why they pass out, that's why they don't have energy. Or you're going to say that the room doesn't have enough ventilation, and that's probably the reason. It needs to be a combination of both, and that's, like you said, a dangerous situation, because either way, the person is going to pass out eventually, and they're not going to have enough air or oxygen, or they're not going to have enough insulin like you should to help keep them warm.
Right. Oxygen is important. And, okay, so when you have someone who passes out, right, there's a reason for that. When you're loading your body with so much calories than it needs, you'll have all the blood rushing to your abdomen to aid in your digestion. And the problem with that is there's not enough blood that's circulating your brain. And so that can lead to people fainting, feeling dizzy or woozy, and that's the reason why.
Food coma.
Yes, food coma. Food coma. Which is why even what we call niggeritis is not a good thing. Niggeritis. When you fall asleep after eating a meal, because that load of your meal was too much for your body. We're supposed to be active after eating our meals. We're supposed to be, right? So that we can keep circulation going to everywhere in our bodies. We're not supposed to be sedentary. So this winter, try and walk around after you're eating, because it's important to regulate your sugar. You remember, all that sugar is just plopped there. Now do something with it.
Before you go, Sister Art,
Yeah.
just thinking about, isn't fructose derived basically from corn?
Fruits.
Fructose can be derived from corn and fruits.
Okay.
Corn is considered a fruit because they're seeds, right? So fructose can come from corn, it can come from other fruits as well. But corn in the industry is so easy to grow and cheap that they use that as a means of getting your fructose.
Do you believe that diabetes can be reversed by diet, changing your diet?
As a naturopath in the state of Illinois, I have to be cautious on how to say that. And I'm not yet a naturopath, I'm getting there. I will say this, I found incidences where diabetes has been reversed based on diet changes and lifestyle. I cannot say that to be cautious of who is listening.
But actually, you don't want to get it. You don't want to get diabetes.
Oh, yes. You don't want to get to that point.
Yes.
But there are signs that you can look out for before getting there, which is, like I said, after eating, you're feeling sleepy, you're getting dizzy, you're lightheaded, you feel jittery, you don't know how to control your body, doesn't want to stop moving, or you feel overwhelmed after eating a sugary meal. That's a caution there to say, okay, maybe I shouldn't eat these sugars. Your body's trying to tell you something. So listen to it. And know, you don't even need to get all these lectures, but to listen to your body is the most important thing you can do to keep it in good health. Yeah.
Is your presentation going to go into detail as to how to help someone that has diabetes that doesn't want to or doesn't know how to?
I have a few things that are lifestyle stuff, but hold that question if I don't answer them, because I definitely like to go into that. Yeah.
I need to be your presentation.
Am I taping my presentation?
Yes, it's being recorded.
So can we buy the tapes?
We'll have to discuss that with Sister Jackson after. I'm sure it doesn't need to be bought, but we'll do something.
I will ask you a question. I'm a dialysis patient.
Okay.
And after dialysis, you are hungry,
Yeah.
sleepy,
Yeah.
and everything. After being on it for quite a while, I eat on the machine. And when I leave, I don't have appetite. But at first, I used to eat a lot when I leave. So I don't know what is happening. And I'm trying to come out of it, so I'm doing some ridiculous things.
Okay.
One or two alternative medicine.
Well, let me tell you this. There are naturopaths in the state of Illinois who practice, right? If you are able to go to a natural doctor to help you with this, do it. You may have to pay out of pocket, but your health is more important than your pocket. Where I go to school is in Lombard. I welcome anybody to come if you are in that area, but I know people are far away. There's NDs who are in all parts of the state, and definitely don't wait till things get worse when you have a condition that you can get some knowledge about and you can get some help for. So definitely,
Amen.
just see me.
Like everybody say, the doctors are against it.
Yes.
I have to fight my way through it.
Of course.
Yeah. You know, it's the industry it's really hard to be in. There's a lot of pressures on our doctors, our MDs, because they have to meet certain criteria to get in their field. It's not always them that are the ones to point the finger, because it's the ones higher up who are pressuring them to get the job done, right? To get the job done so they can get the money.
Also, the lobbyist pharmaceuticals are big in their donations, so the laws are being restricted only for medical doctors.
Restriction of our laws.
I have learned a lot to be able to help people not to get on it. That's how much I hate it. All my studies, reading, TV, everything is to help other people. So when I hear that you are saying symptoms like you are coming on it, I want to grab you and squeeze it out of you. And people don't understand. Because there are symptoms that you can see, and the person, if they tell you you can't, they won't tell you why. I don't understand. Because they know what causes this. One is infection, that is not treated properly. 2 could be stones. 3 could be some fungus, which is more than anything else, because I see the signs of those that I am in there with. I don't have to take your time, but I see the signs that they all have sinus, they have this, they have that, and reading books and listening to know the cause. Anybody that knows about a joke or know the cause, listen to it. Because I was sick for about 6 years. Following know the cause, I have learned so much. Make me do research. I take my Google, I say Google, then I call the name of the medicine, and it will show me everything. So it has given me a lot of knowledge and symptoms. When I look at you, I know what is causing your this thing. So when I go there, the only thing I do is to sing. And they think I'm crazy. I do that to cover my feelings. Because I see all of it, maybe 80 people. 4 of them, I can see why they are there. But they don't know.
These are in the neighborhood, she's talking about Stone Island.
Yeah.
Dialysis center and different dialysis centers in the area.
But it's the best place because I've visited some. But still, it's very sad. So everybody, anything that you have, start from fighting with fungus.
We'll have to get into that. I know what you're talking about. We'll have, after this, let's talk. But as we go into this subject, I want people to be aware to look at their bodies. Pay attention. Pay attention. You see something, a trend, like if you eat something and you see something happen to you, look back at that. Okay, there's a cause to the problems a lot of problems that we have. And that's an important thing to be aware.
And know your body.
I was going to ask, but I'll wait till you do your presentation. I'll wait till everything is over.
Okay. All right, so sugar alcohols, they are found in many processed foods with artificial sweeteners. Health concerns there are health concerns associated with them. When eaten in large amounts, more than 50 grams, but even to the lowest of 10 grams, they can have a laxative effect on the body. So they cause a kind of disruption of your gastrointestinal tract, and you'll have some diarrhea. Product labels may carry a warning about this laxative effect. But I will tell you, not all sugar alcohols appear to be dangerous. It's the type. There are some that cause that laxative effect, such as maltol, which spikes your blood glucose. blood sugar almost as much as a potato. But xylitol, which we have in a lot of products, it has not been seen to do that. It has not been seen to spike blood sugar levels. It actually seems to do benefit to bloating, and it also helps with some other digestive complaints based on rat studies that they've done. So just, pay attention to, like she said, Google sometimes. Really helps to just understand these single sugars and additives that we have in our foods. Natural sugars. Fruit juices, nectars, honey, molasses, sometimes are known as added sugars when they're added to foods, right? So they're so-called natural sweeteners. They're generally safe, but there's no health advantage really to consuming them. People think, oh, I need to have a little sugar with my food. It'll help me with my digestion. But in actuality, sugar, no one has found anything significant about added sugar to the diet. The natural sugars that we get from fruits are sufficient, and grains also have sugar. So just bear that in mind. Consuming too much of any added sugar can lead to health problems, just as eating an artificial sugar or an alcohol sugar. And I'll say one more thing on that. Even table sugar. The calories are pretty similar. There's really no difference in calories. So if you're doing a teaspoon of this sugar compared to that sugar, I'm sorry, but it's the same. It's the same increase in your blood sugar. Honey. Honey contains in its natural form, right? When it's processed, it's different. But in its natural form, it has a lot of good benefits. It has enzymes from the bees, amino acids, vitamins, minerals. But when it's heavily processed, the heat can destroy some of these substances, and